Welcome to another episode of Simon Says, where facts come first. I'm your host, Jenny Simon. Grab your popcorn, grab your drink, whatever beverage, your tea, your coffee. Don't forget the Kool-Aid for the kids. Grab your tablets, grab your notepad and your pencils. Call your mama, call your granny, call your nenen, call your auntie, your nieces and your nephews, your friends and your family. Call the neighbor. Let them know that Simon Says is on. We'll take a quick break and come right back. Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode. Welcome back. Welcome back. In the news today, a press release was put out by the government of Grenada on the whole Cuba saga. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Let me pull up the press release. Grenada and Cuba agree on reforms to workers program. Isn't that interesting? Very nice. Very good. I mean, the 26th of September 2025, St. George's, Grenada. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Export Development confirms that important changes to strengthen the administration and oversight of the Cuban Workers Program have been implemented following high-level consultations between Grenadian and Cuban officials in Havana last week. The changes were initiated following a request made by the United States to review the program. The discussions were led by Honorable Joseph Andel, Minister for Foreign Affairs, Trade and Export Development, and Minister for Health, Honorable Philip Telesford. It was agreed that all Cuban professionals serving in Grenada will work under conditions equal to their Grenadian counterparts. The government of Grenada expresses its appreciation to the government of Cuba for the cooperation in the matter and for agreeing to the changes. The government of Grenada acknowledges the role of the United States in raising the matter with Grenada. I'll read that again. The government of Grenada acknowledges the role of the United States in raising the matter with Grenada. So, what was the knocking of the chest about? As I said weeks ago, and up till last week in my last episode, the USA was seeking the interests of the Cubans. It took you 8 months. This thing started in February of 2025. It took the government, the cabinet, 8 months to realize that this wasn't a bad thing and that the same Cubans they're defending, that it was a good thing for them. The Cuban Workers Program has provided significant support to the people of Grenada, especially in the delivery of healthcare, and the government and people of Grenada are grateful for this support. At the same time, the government continues to strengthen national health capacity throughout expanding training, scholarships, and incentives to increase the cadre of Grenadian professionals serving in the healthcare system. And as I said before, it was never, it all should have been never about picking sides. Why? We support Cuba, we on the side of Cuba. Why? It was not about picking sides. Finally, You understand the assignment. Late, but as the saying goes, better late than never. Even though the horse done galloping down the road, we go run it down. We go bring it back, right? The Minister of Finance, Dennis Cornwall, he already lost his visa. He's had his visa revoked. Now, I'm not sure if that alone is the reason or if that is the reason at all. No, because the Minister of Foreign Affairs, he still holds a visa. He was at the UN, right? The question is, though, why? Why it remains? Why did the Minister of Finance lose his visa or had his visa revoked? Why is it that the Minister of Finance alone suffered the blow when the Minister of Foreign Affairs, in my mind, was more open and blatant in knocking his chest on the issue in our parliament, in choosing sides? So, is there something else we're missing? Is there something else added to that? Like the trip he boasted about on To the Point.
Okay, so we passed in the budget this loan appropriation bill, which basically authorized the government to borrow monies for its development side of the projects. For example, the roads, the buildings, and whatever infrastructural type. Because as part of the financing or funding of the budget and so on, we needed to show the populace where those monies are coming from. We talked about raising some extra monies on the stock exchange in the Eastern Caribbean. Yes. We also said we go after looking for funding at concessionary type loans to build our capital aspect of it. And so far, we have gone ahead and done a lot of work behind the scene. In fact, one of the major projects that we have coming up will be the hospital project, that is smart hospital project in Calivini. And so we have been on the road for the last couple of months, talking to who matters out there to basically make sure we can actually get those monies and so on. And as I mentioned earlier on, we are well on our way to get that monies. In fact, last week while I was in Vienna, I also met with the Arab Coalition Group, which includes Kuwait, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, and other countries, where we are basically interfacing with the institutions so we can raise the monies that we need to make that hospital happen. Yeah. And while we are still having a few fine tuning to go, we should be able to announce before the end of the year that we have sold the monies, and this is where we are going with it.
All right. He was out there talking to who matters and so on. What happened in the Middle East, Minister Cornwall? What happened that we, the citizens, are not aware of? Could it be that there are certain persons that, as an agent, he has sponsored that are questionable? That could be another issue right there. Just questioning. Or could it be his negotiations with those Arab countries that he so fluently called out, boasting about meeting with the Arab countries, these countries that are called terrorist countries, negotiating with these countries? This is an extraordinary measure, having your visa revoked. And some people are beginning to believe it's much more than just knocking off the chest. What did you do, sir? Were you in some sort of shady deal? Israel and the United States of America has grown into a close alliance, an economic strategy, and military aspects. I'm just saying. Moving along. Now, this is an update. We're moving to an update on schools. Let us listen to this clip to start of Minister of Education David Andrews on the renovations of schools.
That there are some schools across Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique where there are some upgrades, infrastructural upgrades taking place, none of which, I'm quick to say, will interfere with the planned reopening of school. So those infrastructural upgrades are simply for the purposes of information that, as you will be aware, we have the Grenada Christian Academy being constructed in the Pearls area. We have the St. Andrew's Anglican Primary School. The construction is taking place, and there were some adjustments that had to be made, but that too is behind us, and we will see full resumption in shortest of the St. David's Catholic Secondary School. That is ongoing. We have started some work at the Caliste Government School, so that's ongoing as well. Florida government, we have started some preparatory work for relocation of students and the eventual reconstruction of a new building there. So all of these upgrades are taking place, but I repeat, they are not going to interfere with the planned reopening of school. Contingencies have been put in place to ensure that school continues in all of those circumstances. And in fact, the constructions are taking place off the sites where school is taking place in most of these instances. There are some other...
Well, we already know of the lies. The day after I spoke and showed you the photos of the space where the St. Andrew's Anglican Primary School was supposed to go, which was a Friday, the Saturday, they had excavation taking place there. And that was it. It stopped. So I'll show you the before and after photos of what I showed you before and after the excavation took place. It was more or less like cutting the grass that was in there. Now, the construction didn't stop the reopening of school. No, it didn't. But it's going on some of the compounds, and it's affecting the children, the principal, the teachers in some of the schools. One such school is the St. Dominic's RC School. It has been over a year, as a matter of fact, about 14 months since the St. Dominic's RC School in Pedmota and St. David's has been under construction. The grades 3 and 4 classroom block. It was an asbestos building. That is being replaced by concrete, including the roofing. The project has been going on for 14 months and no end in sight. Delivery deadlines keep changing. Today, the roof is being demolished. And when I say today, I mean at this period, not today as in today, but over the past few days, from time since last week. The roofs, parts of the roof is being demolished, allegedly because of poor quality of concrete provided by gravel and concrete. It didn't meet the required PSI pass. It didn't pass that. So after 14 months and a struggling project, if you look on your screen, you'll see that's 14 months. There is a further setback because they have to now demolish parts of the roof. In the PTA group chat, parents and guardians are being asked to come out and help in an effort to move the work along. Principal, teachers, and parents alike are beyond frustrated at this moment. dust, noise. I mean, they're using jackhammers to take down the walls. And he said it doesn't bother the children. It's off the compound. It's not off the compound. This particular one is on the compound. Why is it taking this long? Neighbors are asking, why is it all government projects are struggling? All their projects over the past 3 years had or is having overruns, costly ones at that, millions, overruns in the millions. Most of their projects are at a standstill or moving very slowly along at a snail's pace. No money to keep them going because contractors are not given their first disbursement to get the projects going. And even after putting up their own monies, they have been taking loans from small financial institutions, credit unions, and so. They have not been reimbursed. So they're taking the money to start the project and could only get to a certain point. They can't pay their workers. Workers are angry, but it's not the contractor's fault. And these people are sitting there, 10 fingers, 10 toes crossed, hoping that the government will come through for them in real time so they can pay back their loans and pay their workers, and the project can continue. It's a struggle. And you hear it for every project. Everyone. The financial institutions are even getting a little worried because they're not receiving their monies. And they are getting very worried as well. The hardware stores not giving the contractors any material up front for government projects anymore because the government is owing these hardware stores as well. The question is, who is manning the Ministry of Infrastructure? You could say infrastructure again. Who is responsible for the True Blue Road works, the bleeding, the lumpy bumpiness? And it's at the point where it needs redoing again, digging up and resurfacing. That's what? The sixth time? And what about the second phase of the True Blue Road project? Look, just take a look on your screen. That is not an abandoned road. That is main road. That is where residents, visitors to the area, that is where they pass to go to their homes. Again, the Ministry of Infrastructure and MIT, Deacon Mitchell and Andy Williams, line ministers. Who is responsible for the never-ending Cliff Road project? Ministry of Infrastructure and the Ministry of MIT. Deacon Mitchell and Andy Williams again. Andy Williams is the one who signed off on that contract And we know why. Took a bribe to do so. I know you know the story by heart, right? The Prime Minister said they part ways with the company CCCCI because he's not happy and he's just as frustrated as us, the commuters. And so he has part ways with the company CCCCI. But is it any better? This is what the Prime Minister had to say.
Provide an update on the Woburn Cliff project. I will openly admit that my frustration and annoyance with this project is probably spilling over publicly because the project is now almost 5 to 6 months delayed. The team at the Ministry of Infrastructure, together with the consultant Safed, who's supervising the project, have taken the decision, and we intend to subcontract some of the work to accelerate the process of getting this road completed, and we will enter into discussions with the contractor for us to amicably part ways. Instructions have been given to the Permanent Secretary to seek to do so, but one way or the other, the rate of construction on this road must be accelerated because the due completion date is September, and if you pass the road, you will see the due completion date was this September coming, but if you pass, you will see, based on the progress of the works, that we are looking like September next year. And that is not something I'm prepared to countenance. So we will do everything we can from our end to accelerate the construction because the road was completely blocked off to specifically design accelerating the construction of the road. So you didn't have to deal with traffic management, and it's not over here that motorists have been inconvenienced.
Now what? Are we going to get this road anytime soon? If you guys notice, they stop give us timeline now, huh? They stop give us timeline now. We just have to wait and see what would happen because the struggle continues. Just another snail pace project. Now and then, you see a crew of men on site. The Closure Road and land slippage project work has slowed down tremendously on that project as well. Contrary to what we've been told by the NDC party, not the administration. But this is what, coming from a villager who has been following closely and keenly, this is what is going on up there at Closure.
The people are still using the track at the northern end of the collapse. So still, I know there were some binders and things that were placed on the ground. So they're still walking through that. There's still water there. Where the retaining wall is, I think that was built up with some mud, and then some stones have been thrown on that. But obviously, it's not safe for pedestrian crossing because of the size of the rocks that were placed on the mud.
Okay.
But I was told up to last night that 1 or 2 4x4 vehicles will attempt to cross. Not sure if it is sanctioned by those in authority. There seems to be not much work going on though. On a daily basis, maybe just 2 or 3 people are seen working on site. So no definitive idea of what is taking place. So the shuttle is still operational. The kids still have to walk from one end of the slide to the other. And Andrew, you remember where that wooden bridge was, that boat bridge, and they now filled it up with some material?
Yeah.
Yes, so the fault line is starting to appear again, just as we suspected. So there is the makings of that fault line as we expected. The weight of that material is going to push the earth down again, so that is starting to happen again. So it seems like things are a bit in limbo. I know the people who support the the NDC government. They made a big brouhaha of trying to do some PR for them and took some photos and posted it on social media and saying, we get in there and closure people hang on. But much has not changed. And I mean, you heard the contractor himself say he cannot place a timeline. He's not going to commit himself to a timeline as to when this thing is going to be fixed. And in the meantime, and as we've always stressed, outside of the work and the technical issues, there's still the people issue. And more people are suffering. People are losing their crops because there's no access to market. So bananas are literally spoiling. And I know in conversations with you, you saw that for yourself.
Yeah, I did see
Plantains,
that. Did see that.
they are trying to give it away as much as possible. But again, just the access to getting it to people or having people come up to closure to get it is proving difficult. I have one friend of mine who lives in Central, and he normally do a nice batter with a gentleman from Monlong. So he'll drive through closure, go to Monlong, bring up fish, and he'll collect provision. He was actually forced to make the wrongs to go through Monkuma to go to Monlong to do that exchange sometime this week. Yeah, so the farmers are suffering. They're losing a lot of crops. Obviously, the financial setback in that regard, and still again, the MP has not been to closure yet. There has been no conversation with the people as to what can be done, how they can be accommodated or compensated, or what would there be an effort? I mean, the same way the GCNA is going up on a weekly basis and purchasing the nutmegs. Can something be done in that regard for the banana farmers of closure? So, yeah, the social and economic impact intensifies now. Because obviously it will, the longer this thing is a setback for the people of closure, the more they will suffer and the more they will hurt. I mean, bananas are literally spoiling, literally falling to the ground and spoil plantains. I have a friend who has a whole field of plantains and he's tried to give away as much, but there's only so much he can do and it's literally spoiling. So yeah, people continue to persevere. No commitment from the Ministry of Infrastructure, no commitment from the contractor. So they're trying to make the best of it as possible.
The contractor not giving a specific timeline for the end of it. However, the CTO of the Ministry of Infrastructure said that they're basically on time. They didn't really lose any time. I remember I said, after weeks of issues, he is coming to us. And that is an indication of why we are getting this type of service from the Ministry of Infrastructure. Because he is saying that they're basically on time with the project. Now, this interview was on Friday, September the 26th, 2025. Compliments Mr. Andre Donald and Real FM. The Mongo Road project in St. John. The Jangle Road project. And all the many unfinished roads throughout the island. Mondelez Road, Clarkscourt Bay, Confor Road. Look at a photo and a small video of what's taking place in there in not Confident, that's Mondelez. This gentleman had reached out to me because the land is slipping. And this has been like that for, well, by now, it's a good couple of months. Excavator where the man step and leave it like that and gone. The homeowner is becoming worried. Another victim of the Ministry of Infrastructure. I mean, just look at that. On Tuesday, the 30th of September, 2025, yet another disaster between the Ministry of Infrastructure and the MIT. 6 of one and half a dozen of the next. The Nawasa UK-SIF project, in a release captioned, "Major sewer main breach in the south of the island." The National Water and Sewer Authority Nawasa advises the public that ongoing pipe laying works in the Grandens area in the vicinity of Excel Plaza under the UK-SIF Southern St. George's Water Supply Expansion Project have resulted in a major sewer main breach. This critical line conveys sewage from the Montrouge catchment to the Morris Bishop Highway. As a result of the breach, sewage generated from 3 of Nawasa's 4 pumps stations on the Grandan system is currently leaking into the environment. Nawasa has already mobilized resources to carry out emergency repairs with the goal to minimizing the impact of the discharge. Water trucks will be deployed to sanitize effective roads and drains. Residents and businesses in the Montrouge vicinity may experience unpleasant odors during this period. Nawasa sincerely apologizes for the inconveniences and assures the public that every effort is being made to resolve the issue as swiftly as possible. Project impact: as a result of this, the planned works in the Green Bridge area will be temporarily halted as all available resources are being redirected to address this critical sewer main. And it goes on to the traffic, and so I guess what traffic they'd have to do traffic rules to take care of this thing. Again, a combination of negligence and incompetence. Ineptness. The Nawasa project was taken over by the government of Grenada. They gave it to Andy Williams. Anyway, money is flowing. Just follow the money. And Andy Williams and the MIT office is there. Now tell me why contractors and service providers on that UK-SIF project are struggling to get paid, are struggling to get monies for that project. And are also left to borrow monies from financial institutions to do the work and pay their workers. No monies up front, no monies during. The monies for that project was a grant. Monies from the UK for a specific purpose, for that specific purpose. But then the Minister of Economic Development, Planning, Agriculture and Lands, Forestry, Marine Resources, Cooperatives, and the Blue Economy, see how much ministries they have? They can't take care of one good ministry. And that's why we are where we are today. Almost in a failed state. Well, after you hear, I mean, what is going on, we're very close to that. Once a public servant, and I'm referring to Minister Lennox Andrew now, he was once a public servant and acted as permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance. But this is what he had to say about their spendings and how they spend monies.
My question for the Minister for Agriculture is actually linked to what the Minister of Finance would have said. The Minister of Agriculture mentioned $11.6 million that will be distributed, utilized to the average farmer or the fisher folks. Can he tell us whether or not the money for the fisher folk is from the CCREF course funding premium that we have? And would, if the money for the agricultural people, is this from the CREF funding or the emergency funding? And Section 22 of the Public Management Act? And when will government be going to the Parliament to get the necessary approval to supplementary budget?
All right, thank you, Linda, for your question. But actually, the best person to answer that is the Minister of Finance, not the Minister of Agriculture. Anytime you talk about money, you have to go to the Minister of Finance, But be that as it may, first of all, let me say all expenditure comes from what is referred to as the consolidated fund. So whatever money government gets, it goes into the treasury. It's the part of the consolidated fund, and expenditures are made out of that fund. In government, we do not earmark resources. So we do not say, for example, that a particular source of income goes for a particular expenditure. That doesn't happen. Obviously, under the QIF payout, some monies were for the fishing industry. Good. So theoretically, it would seem that those money have to be used for that purpose, but it is not correct, in my opinion, to say that money is specifically used for the fishing. It's all part of the consolidated fund, and from there we have monies that we can use for whatever expenditure government needs to incur. We have prepared a supplementary estimate. Good. And my understanding is that I think sometime in September, Minister of Finance, sometime in September, we'll go towards Parliament for the approval of the supplementary estimates, which include all of those expenditures that I would have announced for the agricultural sector.
Anything to do with monies is for the Minister of Finance. The Minister of Finance is sitting next to you. He's right there on the head table with you. Why didn't you pass it on to the Minister of Finance? I would want to think that the Minister of Finance would not have answered that question on an opinion basis. This is not about your opinion, Minister Andrew. This is about policies and processes. How it come your opinion? In your opinion, you're playing kukute with the funds, with the people and the government of Grenada monies. Is pecamel. When you put it in there, you do what you want with it. That's what you're saying. So it is easy to assume that the UKSIF monies are being used up otherwise. Because you said so. That all the money goes there in the transformational fund, and then you spend it however you want. As a former permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance. So with your brokenness, we can assume that you've been spending out of the UK SIF money. That is why the contractors and the service providers cannot get their monies. They're not being paid. But back to the disaster. Again, one more disaster. It seems like there was no utility survey done on yet another major project of the government handled by the Ministry of Infrastructure. Line minister being the Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell. It is obvious the workers had no idea where the sewer pipes were, so that they could have taken measures to protect them during the whole construction. Coming from expert Perry John, I mean, I've heard this so many times, over and over the past months. I myself know it by heart. the existing utilities must be marked out in order to be protected. Pipe broke in Molyneux, pipe broke in Cloget, no pipe broke in Granans. I mean, you're not even learning from your mistakes. You see, it's all a rush to tick boxes before the end of the first quarter of 2026. It's election. Watch out. Projects, but they don't have the money. So they starting them and then they tick in the boxes while it started and while it's going on. And then they stop midway, sometimes even before midway in the project. And they just left all over throughout the island. Throughout the island. So yet another setback, yet another overrun, more monies to spend. Now sewer spilling out in the Great South. Here is Perry John on that. I mean, he has to be frustrated by now. Because it's not that he has not been trying and advising. He has spoken to the CTO one-on-one. Let's hear Perry.
That means delays in construction. That means more money being spent now to fix the existing utilities. That means additional costs in terms of manpower to deal with this. Now, who's going to pay for this? Again, if you had just protected the existing utilities during construction, you would not have that problem. The question is, why is this being done over and over? What is the problem? Because the only way you can find a solution to a problem is to identify the problem. Is the problem at the contractor's level? Is the problem at the supervision level? Is the problem at the design level? Does the construction documents not show the existing utility locations? So what is the problem? Now, who is the resident engineer on this job? The resident engineer is the one on this job who should represent the interests of the government. Where is the supervision in this job? Why weren't the existing utilities marked out and protected during construction? Why was that not ensured by the resident engineer? What the heck is going on, people?
You want to know why, Perry? The problem is, on the 23rd of June 2022, we voted for and hired a bunch of novices. None can help the other. And so is Major Kute. The Prime Minister and Minister for Infrastructure obviously knows nothing about infrastructure and communication and works. Obviously. And is not on the ground long enough to learn a thing or two. The Ministry of Infrastructure hires a young man as CTO to man the ministry. New and experienced. Another novice. Then they let go these projects in the hands of party supporters, contractors, masons, with no engineering background. And no matter the disasters they've encountered before, they continue to do so. Because this is eater food time. Especially when they're running out of time now. As I said before, it's rough. And once you point out their NDC, then they have to get the job. The Prime Minister said so. Once they know who the NDC people are, they would get the job. Here, I didn't say it. He said it.
We need to know one another. They have senior members. and junior members and those who just joined, we need to know that all of us belongs to the National Democratic Congress. So we can't just argue and fight for what I will get, what I will get, what I will get, when you don't know your people. So sometimes the reason the other side getting is because we're not saying who are the real NDC people who need to get, because we don't know one another enough. So if we are telling the MP or the caretaker, these are our people, and let's go see them or bring the people, then we will know each other better.
And so as a result, sewer generated from 3 of Nawasa's 4 pump stations in the Grandins system is currently leaking into the environment. Sadly, this is not an isolated ministry. This is synonymous to almost all, if not all, of our ministries. Housing, 2 separate ministries responsible for housing. The Ministry of Housing, Tanti Glo, have no clue about housing. And you can hear it as she speaks about what is taking place with the housing program.
That came out clearly after the burial response.
Yeah.
We were looking for contractors to do small houses, and we were not getting contractors.
Yeah, exactly.
So then we hire people, they say they could build, and when you see what they build, it's a disaster, next disaster. You know, so we really need to get our people, especially our young men, upgraded with skills.
Yes.
Yeah, because some of them, they've been around construction as a helper, but they have not acquired the skill to go on their own.
Right.
You know, and that is a challenge.
After the fact, after monies are wasted, it is not about what somebody say to you, Tanti. It's about doing your due diligence. It's about making sure they're certified to do the job. You don't just sit down and say they could do it, and when they do it, when you see what they do, is another story. No, we can run a ministry like that. Under her social development ministry, the SEED program, she has already thrown her hands up in the air. Here she goes.
And every time you hear the word seed, it creates a buzz on the island. I don't know why they can put me in this ministry, you know. Yes. It's a lot of pressure. Seed need a ministry for itself.
You're probably correct. Because all of you have 2, 3, 4 ministries, and you all can't, including the Prime Minister. I think he's running 8 or 10 ministries. He's never around to even look at one ministry properly. And it's not a joke, Tanti. It's not a joke. This is serious business. This is a whole country y'all playing kukute with. Our Attorney General / Labor Minister, Minister of Legal Affairs, after 3 years, has lost in excess of 10 cases. I think it's about 12 now. I stand corrected on that. The last count I did, I thought I came up with about 12 cases costing the government of Grenada money in 3 years, you know. In 3 years. And there are more coming. There are more coming. There's one to start very soon in this October month. A big one. A big one. What she's good at is bullying. Bullying workers. Very arrogant. Then we have a lying Minister of Education, arrogant as hell. Who has delivered a pile of failed programs and projects honest and boasting about it. All of it are lies. The school feeding program. Well, we might as well call it the rice and chicken program because several schools have since complained after my last episode about rice and chicken. Free tuition. We understand that. We've said it on this program several times. That is a bus program because you get in free tuition, and they keep saying, TAMCC and NULO, free tuition, TAMCC and NULO. And so that is why parents are paying again all these fees in the secondary school and the primary school, because remember, the free tuition program started with primary and secondary schools. I believe it's only in the 2024-25 budget that they went on to TAMCC and NULO. But these days, all you hear when it comes to free tuition at NULO and TAMCC. And parents are now paying $200 and $160, and for registration, $180 in primary and secondary schools. Right? So we know about that. The ebook program, struggling to get off the ground. I believe I saw some sort of photo up where he's posing by a stack of computers and saying the computers are here. It's not in the schools as yet. This is the end of week 4. It's not in the schools as yet. But we have a transformational agenda going on. Now, together with the Minister of Transportation, the Honorable Deacon Mitchell, they delivered a failed school bus program. Now, the app's gone through. Nobody using apps. The list for the students gone through. Nobody's swiping cards. That gone through. As a matter of fact, the parents in the pilot schools gave back the cards. Anyone who wants to ride the bus can ride the bus. There's no list anymore. If you want to ride, you go on the bus, park up, you sit down, and you get a drop off where you're going. It's never full anyway. The Minister for Transportation, Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell, we are still waiting on the upgrade of the 3 bus terminus on the island. According to your CEO, they're not good at all.
I am here to serve, and I'm ready to serve, and I think I'm equipped to serve. I'm very, very pleased that I was selected for such a transformational activity or process. I'm very, very pleased. And I'm pleased for more than one reason. Transportation affects every single person. Small, young, old, every single person on the island or the tri-island state, right, will or is affected by the transportation system that is provided. And another reason that I'm very, very pleased to be sitting here among you all, and I'll permission to just throw in this, right? I feel that I'm giving back, and I want to give back to Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, because my parents came from Grenada. Both my mother and my father are Grenadians. So I feel that I'm giving back and lending my experience, my knowledge, my skill to this tri-island state. You know, I've been here about 2 months now, and I've had the opportunity to traverse the length and breadth of Grenada with my team, and I must say I had to commend my team. They have been really holding my hands through this learning process. Must commend them. Right? And I've been able to observe a lot of the things that you all talk about all the time. I've walked the walk from Sutter's to St. George's. Throughout, I've made the loop a couple of times. I've visited all the terminals, or the 3 terminals that we have: St. George's, Granville, Sutter's, and what I saw wasn't what should be. When you look at, and I'll be brief, when you look at St. George's, it's not what we should be offering. And I'm so grateful to be here, and I'm so grateful that this initiative is taking place. I'm so grateful, that the Prime Minister is really key on it, because I'm getting my feedback from the PS. He's always asking, the Prime Minister wants to know what's happening, where we going with the project, how we get along with the project. And I'm very pleased for that, because when I walk through St. George's, the state of that place it's not right, for want of a better word. It's dark, it's hot, and we have the citizenship inhaling these toxic oxide, nitric oxide, all the emissions, because the place is enclosed and the buses pass through the middle there, and that is not right. That's not right at all. When we look at other places, we look at Granville. There's no shelter. There's no shelter from anything in Granville. There was a covering, but it doesn't stop you from the element from getting to you. There's no seating for the elderly. There is when it's dusty, when it's dusty, the dust flows, the dust blows on people all the time. If it rains, that's the end of it. Sutter's, same thing in Sutter's. Condition, very, very deplorable condition, very, very deplorable conditions, And our aim at the Grenada Transport Commission is to reverse all that, to transform, and I like to use the word transform. We're not going to fix, we're not going to change, we're going to transform, which is change into something totally different, and to make the experience, the traveling experience, very, very positive.
Now, won't you be very, very pleased if you get taken from your country to another island, you get a hefty salary, living, transportation? Won't you be very, very pleased? Be? And yet, for all he's saying to us, he thinks he is equipped to do the job. He thinks he's equipped to do the job. Now, my question is to you, sir. Have the Prime Minister stopped asking about the project? Because the project has not even started as yet. This press conference, my friends, was held more than a year ago. I'll have you know. Right? And as he said, none of the bus terminals, all 3, what he sees is not good at all. Nothing was done. What are we paying you for? More than we'd pay a Grenadian, because we wouldn't have to get them room and board, and we wouldn't have to supply transport for them, more than likely. They have their own transport. Maybe they get a stipend for travel for gas in their vehicle. Huh? Talk. He joined the talking bunch. A failed school bus program and nothing else done when it comes to transportation. People still line up every evening, hundreds, in the bus terminals for the western side. Hundreds. In Primrose, the Primrose St. Joseph RC School, 1 year ago, preschool block was completed. 1 year ago. There are so many challenges with the building. It remains empty. Another waste of resources cannot be occupied. Problems with the Sockaway, placed in the wrong area, toilet issues, termites issues. Well, termites take over the building. The Ministry of Education furnished the building, painted up, furnished it, and it remains closed, locked down. I guess they furnish it for the Woodlands. Again, lack of supervision. Lack of supervision equals to botched jobs, more wastage. Well, I told you about the St. Dominic's RC school because I'm dealing with this Minister of Education here who doesn't know what he's doing. So go back to the the St. Dominic's RC, 14 months, no end in sight, and no demolishing parts. No, this Minister of Education worked as a senior officer in the Ministry of Education. However, he used to leave class and go, so he probably would have learned a thing or two if he stuck around when he came to work throughout for the entire day. But he had to go run taxi. So he would leave the government job to go do his personal job. So he didn't learn nothing. So he come now, seeing as he is the one and only ever Minister of Education Grenada had. A set of fancy talk, military grade computers and blah, 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 blah. Youth and sports. Well, this one stole the cake. The previous administration spent millions lighting up the Lysages playing field. In July, I got a call that these people are saying the lighting is not bright enough, so that they need to change the lights. During the carnival season, I went to Calypso tent in Lysages on that field. They used the hard coat next to the field. So the field was lit up. The field lit up the whole area there for the Calypso and everything on stage. It was bright like hell. I don't know if it was bright enough for the sports, but I know it was bright, right? Shortly after that, I saw in the news item where they were taking down the lights. So they took down the lights and they put up new lights. Now, as I was told, the lights that was there, a company from the US did the lights. The government of Grenada had a 10-year warranty. So that anything happened to the lights, the company would fix it, they would come, they would do what, they would take care of everything for 10 years, with just a few years gone, right? Lysages was lit up during the former administration. Don't make them things, make you all believe that the lighting of playing fields and hard coats and things now started. It started a long time ago, even before the NDC coming into office in 2008. The NNP did some before that. I don't remember if NDC managed to do any. I know I think they did. I don't know, I don't remember. But lighting was going on for a period of time. Of course, the resources are not there for you to just your fingers and light up all the fields and the hard coats and so. The lights could have been turned on from the US of A. The lights could have been turned on from the technicians who worked on it here, from their phones, wherever they are, whatever part of Grenada they are. The ones they removed, the nice bright ones they removed. But you know, everything the NNP did before is not good. All the drawings is not good. The Simoons Control Center, the Molineux, everything, it's not good. So they had to redo it. in an effort to stall. So they removed the lights. Nobody know where they are now. Expensive lights, right? They removed it. The ones they put up now are manual. Somebody has to be there to turn it on and have to come back if they didn't stick around to turn it off. Somebody has to turn it off. Now take a look on your screen and you'll see the before and after photos. And this is no joke. This is not the other way around. Because if they say they needed to, it was not bright enough, you'll think the brighter one is the after. But just as you see it, the before lights are way brighter. And let me tell you, I fell out of my chair when I saw that because I couldn't understand the logics in changing those lights. However, the neighbors, the villagers around, they are well lit up in the evening. They are happy because with the rise in electricity bill, they don't need to turn on a light when the evening comes. All their homes are lit up. But they're not happy for long because when they're ready to go to bed, light in their tail, they can't. Their blinds and their curtains cannot even keep out the lights passing through their homes. The drivers on the road coming down the street are affected by the light. I mean, what is this? Who is in charge? Where are the adults in the room? What is this? And you think that's all? You think that's the worst? We heard about the lighting up of Progress Park. And everybody's happy about it. Progress Park is one of the major parks. It was not lit up during previous administrations of NDC and NNP. Why, I'm not sure. But the Ministry of Youth and Sports, they took the initiative and they're going to lit it up. And everybody is happy, right? I shall share with you a GBN news item. More square pegs in round holes. Number 10 decides she's lighting her Progress Park. Congrats. Praises sung. Ego tested. Number 10 say she put in synthetic tracks in Progress Park as well. One of the best cricket fields and the soccer fields as well on the island. You see, God don't like ugly. The whole thing was, oh, we're going to light up Progress Park and we're going to put tracks. We're going to put tracks and we're coming right under the political leader for the NNP, right under her nose and do this. And she wasn't the only minister, the only MP in St. Andrew during the NNP reign, when they 2013 and 18, when they won all 15 seats. Number 10 was there as well. So the whole plan is to embarrass the leader. Why? You're doing something for your country, for the good of the people in the area and the country at large, because Progress Park is used largely by St. Andrew, but throughout the islands as well. The Spice Mass Corporation use it during the carnival seasons to hold the semi-finals events, right? Anyhow, Lights, come on. Listen, I don't mean to laugh because it's not a laughing matter. But what else can you do? Because you just cannot comprehend why they continue to make the same mistakes. After the horse galloping down the road, you call in for consultation. You put up the lights, you show off, you're ready to have your big event on the weekend, bring your flags and your rags and come. Because Progress Park now became NDC Park. It's not a national park anymore. So bring your rags and put on your t-shirts and come. Salop. Listen to the GBN news item.
Was the cart put before the horse with the installation of lights at Progress Park? The elephant in the room. That is how Gerald Sincere termed the promise of a synthetic track for Progress Park.
Progress Park is one of the better cricketing fields in the island. But we also want to put on a synthetic track in Progress Park. So there is some contention there, but we're not addressing it.
During the recent consultation on the future of Progress Park and sport in St. Andrew, the debate got intense between community activists, sport representatives, and enthusiasts on what should be the plans for Progress Park.
So if we decide to put a synthetic track in Progress Park, then we would need to get another park, develop it to a high standard as Progress Park is, so that we can play cricket.
Progress Park transcends the realms of sport and even culture into the socio-economic livelihoods of the residents of St. Andrew, who share a deep connection with the most popular playing field in the parish. Local resident Claude Douglas added that the plan for a mini stadium at Progress Park is no longer viable, with the developments made since 2007 and the selling of lands for residential purposes. He highlighted the existence of a pump which needs repairs for the upkeep of the facility to be included.
Even as we discuss again on development without management is a waste of time. It's a waste of time. So if we're going to develop there must be a management, and I'm talking about a day-to-day staff.
Critical to the discussion was the future of cricket, as well as cultural and other activities, if the decision to install synthetic tracks becomes a reality.
I'm not sure the best thing now is to move away from it. Then again, let's take into consideration what cricket has done for Grenada. I mean, this is what put us on the map. And he started with Juna, he started with Royal, Grenada is looked at very high on the map in terms of cricket. We are seeing now that there's lighting in the stadium. And I guess most of us will know that there's a thinking that one of the franchises will be down here. There's something about Grenada. So it means that we are looking to develop, we are looking to expand cricket in the country. And you wouldn't want to take away one of your major venues at this point in time. Look at what that has done for our players. St. Andrews is the mecca of cricket in Grenada. They had as much as 40-something teams playing cricket in St. Andrews.
Raphael Coney, a representative of the Grenada Cricket Association, also had concerns on how the lights were erected at Progress Park.
One is the height of the lights. It therefore means cricket can't be played there in the night. The lights going to be mashed up. It's too low. The other factor with that is that the lights are so close to the field, the amount of heat that will be given out. Because you look at the magnitude of the lights, those are not small lights. That's a lot of lights. We look at CPL, and you could see the athletes, the cricketers sweating and wetting, like if it's rain, and that's highlight. No, Progress Park is smaller. The lights are much lower, I think about 70, 75 feet. And it's very close to the playing area. So one tells you the amount of heat that we're giving out there, it would create a challenge for the athletes. It's a real challenge.
Sports Minister Delma Thomas welcomed the contributions from stakeholders and community representatives to the future of Progress Park
noting that this was the rationale for the consultation.
We must make some decisions because we have not made. I've heard back and forth that we made a decision, and we did the lights, and maybe you are telling us now that it's not for cricket, and maybe you are correct. But I'm on the phone with the contractor trying to ascertain whether that is factual or not, or whether the light could go higher. And he asking, Madam, can you call me? Because he's still saying that it can be used for cricket.
She promised a follow-up meeting involving the consultant who led the installation of the lights within the next 2 months. I am Gerard Joseph, reporting.
I mean, it will cost if you have to put it higher. You probably have to change the poles. It will cost. It's another cost. Why didn't you consult? The contractor don't necessarily know about the measurements for cricket poles. So the gentleman, Mr. Crony, he has worked in the Ministry of Sports. I am certain for maybe about 40 years as coordinator in the Ministry of Sports for cricket. He knows what he's talking about. Your arrogance, because you don't want to admit that what you should have done first, but you're busy measuring, thinging every day up there, taking out pictures, photo ops, to tick a box. Busy. And now you have a consultation. And now when the gentleman say it is not suitable for cricket, your contractor say it is. I mean, what have we done, folks, to deserve this? What have we done? A bunch of incompetent upstarts. And you know, they have a long list of advisors, but it looked like the advisors need advising as well. Who you having consultation after the light done gone up, an event planned for the opening, the cutting of the ribbons for the lights. Come with your rag and your flag and your t-shirt. Your yellow NDC t-shirt, rags and flags. Well, we already know the big project of the MIT ministry was taken away from Andy Williams and his ministry. No more Build Back Better project. And they didn't just take away just so. Enough issues and enough problems, enough half-built and quarter-built build-back houses throughout the island. And even when they build, they look as though they've been there for umpteen years. Jacked up, botched up. Because as Tanticlo say, when they say they could build and you get them to build, when you see what they build, it all good. And money done, or should I say, money towards the Build Back Better house is done. And we're not halfway there. So they take the project from him. And money ain't just done, you know. Money spent in excess. Millions spent in excess. And if we have 100 Build Back Better houses in Grenada, we have a lot. They ain't telling us so much we don't know. Piece of road here, piece of road there. And he get, what, 15 million? No, 8 million that was. 8 million to do roads and piece here, golf course, Jean Anglais, start, can't finish, wood sticking up, iron sticking up. Everywhere you pass, road eat up. bricks alone for box drain. I mean, what a mess. What a mess. Unfinished slipper drains, unfinished box drains, unfinished Build Back Better houses. Everything unfinished. Just like the administration, unfinished. This had to be a sin. And more than that, it had to be a crime for wasting the resources of the country like that. Then there's Ministry of Climate Resilience, Environment, Renewable Energy. Properly staffed ministry with professionals. But it's like it's a curse on us, eh? They put out a fiscal incentive of coming out of the ministry, and I have to read it to you, right? The Ministry of Climate Resilience, the Environment, and Renewable Energy, our fiscal incentives. Incentives, huh? Incentives for who? The ordinary man. Once you fall under that, if it's 5%, is a lot at the top. Copper smoke we pipe down below here. 100% concession on all renewable energy equipment, solar panels, inverters, batteries, etc., solar water heaters. With the 100% concessions, ordinary man still cannot afford it. Moving on. VAT exemption on energy saving devices, including energy saving bulbs, LEDs. 100% concession on electricity vehicles. 75% concession on hybrid vehicles from 0 to 5 years. Now, I called a car dealership to find out about the hybrid because they don't bring in 100% electric vehicles. They do the 75% hybrid vehicles. 0 to 5 years because they're brand new. 75% concession. And the ones they have on the market now are $134,000 for one. And the other one that's a little cheaper is $111,000. 50% concession on hybrid vehicles, 5 to 10 years, and 100% concession on refrigeration and air conditioned appliances that use natural refrigerants. People, who is benefiting? Why it is we can't seem to benefit? We, the ordinary people, the poor people of the country, why is it we can't seem to benefit under this administration? Now, these electric vehicles, there are a few on Ireland. I wasn't able to get what I tried, but I wasn't able to get how much it cost. And they have battery. Now, the battery has to be charged with electricity, right? Now, if a poor man managed to buy one, let's say a second-hand one, and he managed to buy one, you have to charge it with electricity. Yes, the high cost of electricity now, you have to charge it with electricity. Another issue is that I'm sure more than 80% of the persons purchasing vehicles these days have nowhere in their yard or close enough to their homes to park them. So they parked alongside the roadways throughout, basically, most times. And you either have to walk up the hill or go down, walk down the stairs or so to get to your homes. Where you charging the electricity costs? So there are issues there, and there are things to put in place there that we know we're close to solving that problem as yet. But what is important at the moment, this initiative This incentive is not for the ordinary man. It's not for the poor man. And while I'm on there with Minister Karine James, they put out another this time to do with another release. I don't know if you could call it a release, a flyer, but this time to do with her constituency. Because these days, everybody, we know election is around somewhere coming around the corner. I know how far around, but it's around, right? And so, flyer was put out, and it says, when young people, especially women, step boldly to the forefront in politics, it is truly commendable. Honorable Kieran James is showing us exactly what that looks like. Courage, service, and genuine love for people. That's a laugh. That one is a laugh, right? For too many years, St. John knew what it was. St. John knew what it was to be overlooked and left behind. But today, on the Her Watch, we see action and progress. Now, there's a brand new polyclinic in St. John, built there by the former administration for that area in emergency cases. And people still have to drive from St. Patrick to the general hospital and show up there dead on their way. They have died on their way, dying on their way. You understand? But St. John's has been overlooked. But hear what St. John's get since Miss that they're advertising. Civil works enclosure, safer roads, proper drainage, and retaining walls that protects families. Closure. Support for fisher folks with 1,000 vouchers to help rebuild their livelihoods after hardship. Well, the fisher folks, there were monies from an insurance premium called Coast that we got from the CRIF for fisher folks, right? And so they were supposed to get $1,000 they gave out to NDC supporters. When you hear the complaints from the fisher folks in St. John's, not their money to give, it's not your money. The government and the people of Grenada money. Moving along. Road and safety improvements. Tackling landslides and closure so communities are never cut off. And fourth, empowering local projects in Guelph, opening new markets and opportunities for fishermen. And we threatened at the moment, they are threatened at the moment to be barred from shipping their fish to the US by January if nothing is done speedily by this administration. And we ain't hear about nowhere else. Where's the market they open for the fisher folks? I mean, this is sad. This here is what you call desperation. But if you could put that out as achievements, that is past desperation. That is way gone past desperation. That is holding on to straws. Civil works enclosure, safety roads, proper drainage and retaining walls that protect families. Folks, again, what have we done? What have we done? But Minister Andy Williams have an answer for showing off roads while people are hungry, while parents can't feed their children, his words were, we can't eat roads.
And what really concerns me, I'm looking every day, is that I'm seeing no effort is being made, no talks, nothing is like we are ignoring that fact. And no measures are being put in place to fight inflation, to fight the high cost of living, no measure at all. All we are seeing is a set of roads being built that was supposed to be constructed or worked on months and years ago. We are seeing roads being built, and I'm saying to myself, boy, can we eat road? Can the single mother who doesn't have a job, can she eat road? You understand? Can the person who is struggling every day, struggling to make ends meet, and the prices are going higher and higher, can they eat roads?
Speaking of the police force, we have a special guest today with us from the police force. Well, now a retired police officer, Mr. Tafawa Pierre. So we'll take a break, and when we come back, we will have a conversation with Mr. Tafawa Pierre.
Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode.
Welcome back, welcome back. And I did promise you I'll try to get a superintendent, Tafawa Pierre, on Simon Says, and we're lucky to have him on today. Hello, hi, Mr. Tafawa Pierre.
How are you doing? It's nice to be in the same space with you.
Thank you for coming on. Welcome to Simon Says.
Yeah, thank you. It's nice to be here. I'm an ardent viewer of your program, million views and all.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate. Now, before we get to the matter at hand, that is your reason for visiting us today. I want to go back a bit to the 2022, after the elections and the coming of the NDC, when you held the rank of acting deputy commissioner of police of the RGPF.
Correct.
Tell us about that, because as a matter of fact, let me get my glasses. I have been handed a document here which says here, Tafawa Pierre, acting deputy commissioner of police, and it's a period of review from February 2022 to February 2023, and it says rank the executive senior manager on the performance factors using the following performance definitions, right? And it says 5 outstanding, 4 significantly exceeds expectation, 3 fully capable, 2 needs improvement, and 1 unsatisfactory. And on this document, number 4 is circled. I guess grade 4, I can say, is circled. So that means you significantly exceeded expectations. Then I heard that you were reverted and brought back down to superintendent. Now retired, and you retired as a superintendent. So after 3 years, you were never given a promotion. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, yeah. Thank you for having me, and I just want to thank your viewers and listeners everywhere. Yes, it seems as you're holding an important document. It sounds like my appraisal that came at the end of my acting year, in 2023. That is, I was appointed to act as Deputy Commissioner of Police in February of 2022, and I remained that way until February of 2023, when the Public Service Commission wrote to me, thanked me for my acting period, and advised me that I would not be conformed or asked to act further, but that I would be reverted to my substantive rank, which was superintendent at the time. So yeah, you're correct, and what you read from is actually my appraisal that normally comes at the end of your acting period.
And looking at the document, all I see here are grades 5 and 4s. 5, which says outstanding, and as I said, 4 says significantly exceeds expectations. All I've seen, nothing under 4. 4, 4, 4, 5, 4, 5. I mean, I wouldn't go through all of it and read it out because that's not why we're here today. But I'm just saying that your performance is impeccable, and yet still you were reverted and never promoted.
But I mean, yeah, so says the former Commissioner of Police, Mr. Edwin Martin. I guess he felt, being my immediate supervisor, that I performed well. And 4 and 5 is a nice run. I mean, it's not something that is easily achievable, but I trust his view and his professionalism. And yeah, I felt I did a decent job. And what should follow is that the Public Service Commission should commend me and either ask me to act further or to make me permanent in the position. I wasn't so lucky. Notwithstanding my performance, they felt that I shouldn't continue, and so I was reverted to superintendent.
Yes, this document is signed by former Commissioner Edwin Martin. And I said agreed appraisal, and that's in his handwriting. It's in line with performance, according to his writing here. So that was the beginning of of what, and as a matter of fact, probably the least of it all, of what you've been through for over the past few weeks or maybe couple of months.
But I mean, yeah, I was reverted to superintendent, and I was posted to be the commandant of the police training school, which I embraced quietly, and I think I performed my duties very well there as well, although I never had the opportunity to be appraised again or to be recommended for any promotion. But nonetheless, I think I performed well until October thereabout of 2024, when I was written to and asked to take 29 days excess leave that I accumulated. I was written to by the authorities and told that I should take those leave. And I applied for much more than 29, for 60 days, to commence in January of 2025. And in February, all hell break loose from there on.
So, as I said earlier on, that you know retired, and a letter was written to you asking you to retire?
Well, it went like this. I was on vacation, and around the 3rd of February, I was advised by my commissioner, Mr. Randy Connaught, that I should attend a meeting with the Public Service Commission. I asked why. He was unaware as to the reason, so I asked that, out of courtesy, that he should at least confirm why they wanted to see me, and that because he's unaware, it should be in writing. Because I mean, here you had a situation. I had to go to the Public Service Commission, and my immediate supervisor, my boss, so to speak, was unaware as to the reason. He got back to me in a few days, and he did give me something in writing that said, just paraphrasing, that they're calling me to a meeting to discuss my status as a senior police officer. The truth is, I did not know what that meant, but because of the authority they have over me as a public servant, I attended the meeting nonetheless.
So you attended the meeting, you went to the Public Service Commission.
Yes, I obeyed the instruction. I went to the Public Service Commission and I met with the entire commission. I was a bit taken aback because I was of the opinion that I was going to meet with either a cross section or with the chairman. But when I got there, I was surprisingly, the entire commission was there. And I was welcomed by the commission, by the chairman, who is Miss Deborah St. Bernard. She welcomed me and thanked me for coming. The commission introduced themselves individually, including those that represented the union, both teachers union and I believe public workers union. And then she said, let's get straight into it. And she went straight into it, saying to me that in recent times, my wife, Emmeline Pierre, is now the head of the NNP. And as such, looking at my file, I was above 50 and above 30 years in service, and that I should take my retirement and my benefits and leave. Well, yeah, I was a bit surprised, and I'm not normally surprised. But for a minute, I was stunned for a minute. I recollected myself. She asked me to speak, and I wanted to know why. And she said to me that the Minister of National Security, the Honorable Dickon Mitchell, and the upper echelon of national security, including the executive of the police force that involves the commissioner, has lost confidence in me. And that confidence was lost because my wife is the head of the NNP. Well, we had a large discussion going back and forth about how that had anything to do with me. I said to them, why don't you fire Emmeline Pierre? Because if you called me here, you say nothing about me. You my supervisor. You say nothing about me, about my performance. You tell me about the head of the NNP, who fortunately is my wife and the mother of my children. So kudos to you. You've described her well. What I have to do with me? It had nothing to do with me. But they went on to say, well, the Prime Minister has no confidence in you, and therefore you should retire. We had some decent conversations. Eventually, one of the commissioners, I think is Miss Faith Thompson, said, well, she never saw me like that in the past, and she was referring to me having a walk with my wife during the Christmas season, right? My wife was greeting people in St. George's and Grenville, and I was with her, which of course is a noble thing to do, particularly expecting the celebration of the birth of Christ. But they found that to be terribly annoying and meant that I was doing something untoward. I reminded them that I have my constitutional right to associate with who I wanted, much less my wife for 30 years. Well, they didn't listen. Constitutional rights and all, they continue to trample on it and said that I should leave, I should retire.
Now, two things here. They asked you to retire, and which is early retirement, because you do have a few years left before you got to the legal retirement age, right?
Yeah, well, I have another few years. I have 13 years. I could go until 65. I'm now 52. So you're talking about 13 years to go. And they're asking me to retire. Now, the law is clear about asking an officer to retire before the age of compulsory retirement. It talks about the reorganization of the department, right? They are not reorganizing the police force, and my position is not made redundant. So if you examine the Constitution, you realize that they had absolutely no standing to ask me to retire. So in truth and in fact, they said I should keep this confidential, and I'm breaking this confidentiality right now because I think they believe, because it's illegal, because it's unethical, that I shouldn't speak about it. Because there is absolutely nothing in the law that supports asking me to retire. Certainly, being the husband of a politician is not one of them, right? So there's no way they could support what they did because they're not reorganizing the force. The last time I checked, the force needs experts now more than ever. So it can be reorganization. They have not made my position redundant, and so they have no standing, not a legal one, not an ethical one, not a moral one, to ask me to retire. And I see why now they want me to keep it quiet and confidential, but that has ended today. I think I stayed quiet for long enough as a public servant. I served for 34 years. And by their own admission, when they perused my file, they saw it was unblemished. I did not have one disciplinary even question throughout that 34 years. I quizzed them in the meeting as to whether I breached any regulation, any code of conduct, anything whatsoever. And they assured me that, nah, you did absolutely nothing wrong. Yeah, you're right. The only thing I did wrong was that my wife is the head of the NLP. Well, I can't do anything about that. It's the last thing I would do to separate myself from my wife of 30 years to please the Public Service Commission or to please the Honorable Prime Minister. Right? I quizzed them as to why the Prime Minister lost confidence in me. Well, the only thing they pegged it with, it was because Emily is the head of the NLP. I find that to be most disturbing. We have a leader of a country who is comfortable in trampling on the rights of citizens, not because of an infraction, not because I did anything untoward. The only reason is because of my perceived affiliation to the NNP, right? Well, they're speaking about walking with my wife. Well, I sleep with my wife. So what walking is minor, right? I, as a citizen who chose to be a police officer, should be allowed to walk. The Prime Minister has stripped me of my right to earn, to feed my family. And he did so with impunity. The Public Service Commission, who by design, which is a creature of the Constitution itself, right, is designed to hire, to appoint, to promote, and essentially to protect the public servant from his or her right being trampled upon. And they did just the opposite. Imagine you have union representatives on the Public Service Commission who themselves are to mind and look after the rights of the workers. And these people sat there and join in and trample on my rights. One of the representatives, I think it was Faye Thompson, she said, now Miss Judy Benoit said, well, Mr. Pierre, one day you have to retire. I said, well, yeah, but the time ain't come yet. When that time come, call me back. And they said that they empathized with me. I was wondering what was the empathy about? I hold a job for 34 years. I did absolutely nothing wrong. And you are saying to me, I should leave that job and do I don't know what. The fact is, because of my how naive I am, I convinced myself that the Honorable Prime Minister could not have been a superintendent presiding over something so cruel. So I sought to get an audience with him. Well, after 6 weeks, I was told that he was so busy. The person who spoke to me added some O's in so to tell me how busy the Honorable Prime Minister was, and so he could meet with me. And of course, I was just naive. Of course, he is the orchestrator of what he perceived to be my destruction. So how could he be comfortable in speaking with me? My problem here is the fact that my rights that are covered by the Constitution is trampled upon in the most obscene way. And it appears as though the Prime Minister has successfully coerced the Public Service Commission to uphold their responsibility. If you listen to these people, they pretty much sounded as some arm of the NDC. They didn't care about my rights or what they should rightly say to me. They agreed that it was impossible for me to be a senior police officer and to be part of the national security and to be the husband of someone who is involved at that level of politics. I mean, a woman that I am extremely proud of. I'm telling you, it's one of the days when I felt I was in a place where I couldn't defend myself because I did nothing wrong. And the story was about Emily Pink. And I can do nothing about that. And that argument continued for as long as I could think about. Eventually, I said to them, look, if you guys want me to leave, pay me my benefits. And I was referring to, well, my additional 8 or 13 years that they're actually robbing me from. Eventually, the St. Bernard, the chairman, said noted. And they seemed relieved that I agreed to leave. And that I now should engage the Ministry of National Security. Listen, The same person who is kneeling on my neck, who is the Prime Minister, I have to now engage his ministry to speak about my benefits. So you have to know how that will turn out. I had no hope. So I had some discussions with the PS there, and long and short, what I got was minuscule in comparison to my 8 years of lost employment, so to speak. And who do you speak to when you're railroaded and you trample upon like that? You can't get to the Prime Minister. You can't speak to the Public Service Commission, who the constitutional organ, which is supposed to look after my well-being as an employee. Can't speak to them. I can't speak to the Prime Minister. What do I do? Right? I'm cornered. And so once you say that you have no confidence in me as a senior police officer, I'm finished. Because I become persona non grata. I become a risk. I can't stay in the institution, in the organization. So I was obviously separated at that time, once that was said to me, and I knew I had to leave whatever the circumstances might be. So I just took what I got, and we'll see how the court feels about that. Once the Honorable Prime Minister doesn't have anything to do with the court, any influence, I'm confident that I'll be fine. I mean, I must say to you, I have utmost respect for the Honorable Dickon Mitchell, but certainly his actions is saying something totally different. No, let me just say this. I wasn't surprised. I mean, I listened to the Prime Minister saying that creating this division between people who support the NDC and people who do not support the NDC, and to say that only those who support the NDC should get, right? I'm not asking for a handout, I had a job. So it means, therefore, that if you don't support the NDC or you don't perceive to support the NDC, you shouldn't have opportunities. You shouldn't get promotion. And you shouldn't have a job. You shouldn't earn. The man has robbed me from my ability to earn and to feed my family. That is it. And so I think that, I mean, if justice was ever important, it's just me today, but it could be anybody. I mean, the Prime Minister, this code now.
I specifically spoke about you being asked to retire because I also have in my possession a document which gave me a long list of members of the RGPF who have retired before their legal age. And I'm understanding that that list is now 70 plus. And young ones, some even as young as in their 20s, have retired from the RGPF. And people are still retiring as we speak. There ought to be something wrong within that organization to have and you low in capacity, in human capacity as it is. So there ought to be something to have this mass rush to get out of the RGPF.
Yeah, Mr. Simon, you see, I feel you. I hear what you say. This is going to continue. Now, let me say this. Money doesn't drive an employee, right? It's enthusiasm for service and a feeling of belonging and psychological and mental comfort that keeps somebody wanting to work. And policing is a kind of job that you will do it for no money. At some point, when you get really engulfed in what this passion is about looking after people and serving people, you can do this for without money. What is happening is because this government, under the stewardship of our Honorable Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell, has created a very uncomfortable environment for police officers, right? So there is this myth that is because they can get pension and gratuity, they are leaving. Absolutely not. These guys are leaving who have so much more to give, who is in the prime of service. They're leaving and going and do security jobs. I'm not trying to demean a job. I'm just saying that they want to work because obviously whatever pension they get or gratuity, it cannot upkeep them and their family. But they are leaving because they are uncomfortable. I remembered one senior officer suggesting that the administration forming a caucus and going around and speaking to police officers to encourage them to stay. And nothing was said about that, but later I heard that they say, well, now it's an NMP purge. So let the people go. But that purge now is a river and it's flowing all over the place. People are, let me tell you, over the last month or so, 5 police officers engaged me talking about leaving. And I said to them, please don't leave, stay on. I explained to them the detriments of their finances and so on. And I say, the force needs you. This morning, on my way here, an officer met me and said, Mr. Pierre, I want to, I said, no, man, don't go. You want to leave after his vacation? I say, stay around. I say, the force needs you, right? Because what we're having is that we have this 70-odd people who have left, talking about people above 20 years, who is under 60, right? Really, these are the mentors, right? These are the coaches. And that is the middle of the organization. Once that disappears, you have the bottom, which is the new recruits, the untrained, and you have the top. How would you lead an organization like that? But to me, the organization doesn't understand. And again, that is because that all that is spoken of now is who support who. But watch me, let me tell you something. A police officer don't care about politics. When we're out in the gutter, out in the bush, and something happens, all we care about is protecting each other's back. That is what it is. When it comes down to it, Miss Simon, it doesn't matter who we support. We protect each other. We go out there. I mean, somebody draws a gun. It becomes personal. But these policy makers are trying to instill politics into everything. So what they are doing, what they said to me was that they don't believe I could be impartial. I don't know what that means. I've been a police officer for 34 years, function under different government. They don't believe I could be impartial. It therefore means now, how do we look at those that are the leadership of the RGP? Can they be impartial? And I'm not trying to throw any soil on them. I'm just saying that this thing is created by the policy.
Showed us their hands. They have openly showed us their hands. So you can say that who they support openly. Cohen, or what is his rank?
He's a ACP. Cohen is an ACP. And let me tell you something, Mr. Simon. It's unfair to them, because everybody supports somebody. What is happening is what the Prime Minister is doing in the ministry. He's pushing this guy in a position where they will be compromised. So take, for example, I struggled through this thing from January to August, and my commissioner, Mr. Randy Connor, never spoke to me about the issue. He pretended that he was unaware. Imagine that. That is the person who I'm responsible to, according to my appointment to them. And this man did not speak to me up to this day. I got a discharge certificate at the front desk of police headquarters. My commissioner didn't even speak to me and shake me and say, boy, that was a good run. the man separated himself from me. The executive abandoned me. Nobody spoke to me. And I don't believe that is what he wants to do. But he can't do anything else. Otherwise, he end up in a worse position than me. So these guys now have become tainted and they cannot function. So whatever spillage or whatever bleeding is taking place, they won't be able to do a thing about it. Right? They have no idea what to do.
Loss of confidence. Well, 3. Loss of confidence. They showed their face again. You mentioned Miss Judy Benoit, and it stuck with me because it's amazing how time changes depending on which administration is in office. Because this lady had sued the government of Grenada because she was asked to leave her job as well before her contract was up, and sued the administration. And there she is asking you if you want to stay forever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you see, Ms. Simon, I think that I feel sorry for these institutions and sorry for Grenada, because you see, these people are supposed to protect and uphold integrity. They're right now in the gutter. I mean, they sounded as any other arm of the NDC, not as a professional body that should be fair with me. These people trample on fairness and trample on my rights as any trash on the ground. And I listened to them and I was astonished. I say, how can you guys allow this august body to be trampled upon by a prime minister because of politics? And they really couldn't answer. So I have no faith in them. This organization, as far as I'm concerned, as far as the function is concerned, they're finished. They have no legal or integrity or moral authority to speak to any issue ever again. And as a matter of fact, I intend to formally complain to the Integrity Commission. When I look at the code of conduct for people in public life, they've broken several of them because they allow themselves to be railroaded politically. The Constitution, I think is Section 84 speaks about the Constitution not allowing themselves to be under control by any person. That includes the Prime Minister. So although they are appointed through the Prime Minister, the expectation is that they become a sort of independent body for this very same reason. And obviously they are abhorring their constitutional responsibility, and I mean they just use as any battle axe of the Prime Minister to destroy people. On my way here I was just thinking about, the region is going into this freedom of movement. A few countries have accepted that, and people can move uninhibited to take up jobs and opportunities. And I am robbed of an opportunity right in my own country, being a Grenadian. Something have to be wrong, Miss Simon. Something have to be wrong.
As far as you know, is there someone who has replaced you?
Listen to me. As far as I know, since I left that school in January, nothing happened. And I don't believe anything would happen because they have no direction. The force has no direction. Because let me tell you, training is the pillar of any organization. And if you have 8 months, you did not train a person in the organization. 8 months, nothing happening at the training school level. We have 2 groups of recruits that were trained for 5 weeks, right? These people were scheduled to complete their training by now, the 2 groups. They refused to do so. So they are comfortable with people trained 5 weeks, right, on the streets of Grenada. I mean, how can they unleash that on the public?
Training for 5 weeks, is that standard?
Well, many years ago, when the force was being built from the beginning, there are some short training, and rightly so. They needed to do that to get the numbers. But in 2025 or 2022, 23, in this modern environment with this kind of dynamics with criminal activity, they forced the school to train people for 5 weeks. And these people, some of them maybe have, I don't know if it's close to 2 years or more than a year, have not completed their training. You find as an organization with direction, and they didn't give one reason. I begged. I produced all kinds of documents to show how it could be done, even part of their model with mentorship and coaching and bringing the students back. They just didn't bother. I suspect it's because of Tafawa Pierre, because they would train them. But of course, they didn't want to listen to me or any suggestion I had. So these people are untrained. And it's unfortunate because people who are untrained never remains in an organization. Because what you train most of all is the mind, is the thinking. And if you don't get a chance to change people's perception, they won't be able to take the pressure of being a police officer. Not just putting on a uniform. You have to have a mindset. And in this modern era with these people who are educated and so on, they won't stay. I don't know. I feel sorry for the organization, but I'm no more, so I have to move my mind from it.
In other words, the moral fabric of the police force, it's I would use the word rotten. It's rotten to the core. And that is why you have persons literally running for their lives out of the RGPF. It's very concerning to me as a citizen and anyone listening in to this interview, to this conversation with you. It has to be very, very concerning. The Prime Minister spoke of succession planning. What say you, Mr. Pierre?
Right. So yeah, the Prime Minister spoke when he came into office. You see, and that was a smokescreen to destroy the organization. He says that there was no succession planning. Well, you see, you don't have to be a specialist to know that military organizations inherently are designed with an internal succession plan because you have promotions from one rank to the next. You have a law that specifies how promotion should be done, when it should be done, and how it should be done. So you always have people you can dip into. So don't tell me that you don't have enough superintendents that you can get an ACP. Don't tell me you don't have enough ACPs that you can get a deputy or a commissioner. right? Don't tell me you don't have enough sergeants that you can get an inspector. So he's saying there was no succession plan, right? And what he did, I was moved from the executive. ACP Mitchell was moved from the executive. I am 52 years old. Mitchell is a little bit older. Moved, and you know what he replaced us with? Two retirees. So the two retirees are there now. During that period, not one person was mentored or coached. So what succession plan is he talking about? What succession? What he said that just to create the anomaly so that he can move in and to politic in the force. And he has successfully done so. So right now, you have two retirees and then you have young people. Let me say this to you. The police force, Great Ragnar Police Force, is a beacon, right, in the region. We've always been, right? We've always been special. If you talk to anybody in the region, we make something out of nothing. So I have no reason to say that we don't have the best officers who can fill all those positions. We have persons right now who could fill all the positions. And I'm not throwing shade on the two retirees. They done well. These guys have given their life to the police force, and kudos to them and all commendation to them. But I'm making the point that there are sufficiently trained persons within the force to hold every position. So this idea of lack of succession plan is just politics, right? I remembered vividly during the campaign where the Prime Minister said, talk about how you treat the force. In fact, he's the first politician that spoke directly to the police force, that interfered with the internal environment, spoke to the police force specially. And he said, well, people will be promoted on merit. And then he also said that they won't be promoted based on who the wife is. So since then, I know it's out to get me, right? Not just me, but I'm in the firing line. So I know that he's out to get me. So I knew that I couldn't survive. I didn't know how it would be done, but he spoke it before. And obviously, his mantra now, and we have to believe him, that only the NDC should get anything, should the other side shouldn't get. So I guess I'm on the other side.
Your wife is the leader of His Majesty's opposition, which is a creature of the Constitution, our supreme law. It's not an illegal position. It didn't happen before you became a police officer. You were already 34 years in, and she has been a politician for what, 20 years?
Yes, after I listened to the Public Service Commission, I thought the NMP was some drug cartel or some organized crime or some gang or something. I couldn't believe they was talking about a political party. So the fact that she heads the political party, I can't be part of national security. Miss Simon, look, I've been around this thing for 34 years, for several elections. And I don't know that the police force at any level holds any information or intelligence that can give any political party any kind of advantage. We treat with security, right? So I don't know if now they're changing that. Maybe because the chairman insisted that I couldn't be the husband of Emmeline Pierre and be part of the senior management of the force. So I don't know if they're now turning the senior management into an arm of the NDC. Other than that, the police doesn't treat with political intelligence. We deal with just crime and so on, and we protect every group. When at the night of an election, the police sets up itself to protect any person who emerge as the apparent leader elect. So if it's the opposite side, you have a group of people who are now positioned to protect, and that happens all the time. So I don't know about any advantage that I would have. I did quiz them. I asked them if I was politicking in police training school and trying to convince people now to, well, there is no election. I don't know about what, maybe to support, I don't know, to become mercenaries for NNP. I don't know. And they said no, they didn't hear that. I mean, it sounds as a joke to me still because I do not know. I found myself in a very awkward position because I couldn't defend that. I can now, I had to tell that to my wife very softly because she started to blame herself for my demise. She understands.
Plain vindictiveness. I would not even say victimization. Vindictiveness, in my mind. it's clear. I mean, what else do you have that you have to tell us? I mean, I think I've exhausted my questions. Is there anything that you think the public needs to know?
That's our next program, but I'll say to you what. I have a great respect for the Honorable Deacon Mitchell. I have absolutely nothing against him. But I can safely say, based on my account, and I'm saying that based on empirical evidence, I'm not saying that because I feel a certain way. Based on what I've seen happen to the police force, what I've seen happen to members of the police force, and myself, I believe it's safe to say that the Honorable Deacon Mitchell is bad for national security and it's bad for the police force. It may be good for other things, but national security, absolutely not. Watch me, as a police officer, I was embarrassed when the Honorable Beloved Prime Minister posed with a marijuana plant, just dashing water in the face of the police force. I felt embarrassed. Here we are running after people who are involved, whether you like it or not, and we are heading towards a place of either decriminalization or legalization. That is a global approach. But as a prime minister, when you do that, what you are saying is that you don't respect the police. You posing with some ganja tree planted by someone, and you smiling on social media for all to see. What are you saying to the police? What are you saying to the police? So I mean, maybe it's a good time to go to, because I mean, to sit through this embarrassment, to watch somebody who's supposed to lead, not just in office, but by example. And this man is parading with a ganja tree as if it's the best thing to do. Something had to be wrong. And that is why I'm saying that he's not good for national security. Outside of what he's doing, he's destroying the police force. Let me tell you something. You and me calling his name. ASP Mitchell was moved as a member of the executive and given some nothing burger to do. I don't know what, not even the commissioner knows what he's doing. This man is highly skilled. I mean, you could name the things that he's involved in, and he's just there doing nothing, just wasting this man who can contribute. The only thing that man did is because his name is Mitchell, and I believe aligned to the wrong Mitchell. I never even hear that man say anything political, but he's aligned to the wrong Mitchell, and so he's just crushed. How can we allow that to happen? Let me just give you something quickly before I go. Somebody asked me why I didn't push back and why I didn't fight to stay. Let me tell you something. 5 months into my vacation, somebody asked me if I had an engine on the SSU compound that somebody have to collect. But I don't know what they're talking about because I don't run a garage, I run a school. And the commissioner and the deputy was asking about an engine I had on the compound that somebody had to collect. I was baffled. I called the deputy. I said, Dep, I understand you're asking about an engine. He said, no, he didn't know why. He was just acting on behalf of the commissioner. Well, being an investigator for all my life, that's 34 years, I investigated and then I recognized, Miss Simon, listen to this. A few days before, I called one of my colleagues and asked him to loan me his power wash engine to do some work at my home. That I just have to spray to take a dot, right? On the phone, privately. Next few days, they were inquiring about an engine I have for somebody to collect. What do you make of that? These guys have intercepted my phone and listened to my conversation. So this your privacy. These guys are using the machinery to waylay and to follow and to listen to the conversation of police officers, of senior people. That is the only way they could be asking about an engine, because I had just a simple conversation. I said power wash, but I added engine to it. And they're asking about this engine that I have that somebody have to collect. Almost the specific conversation, but of course, because they're so daft in intelligence, they believe it's some crime that I'm involved in. And the deputy couldn't explain. You see why I have to leave? You can't be in an environment like that. These guys are comfortable in destroying you as a person and your reputation. And finally, the Prime Minister interferes with my employability. Because I know, let me tell you, when you hear you're cut loose from a security institution, an organization, people always wonder why. And I have to now say, well, the boss lost confidence in me. That's a shadow that the Prime Minister, now he's synonymous with him, that he throws over people. And that is for futuristic damage. Because he never explains why, and I don't know why. But a potential employer listening to this could think a plethora. One person said to me that he heard that I was leaking information. I was having some night school at the police training school teaching NMP politics. I can't blame him, because that is what the cloud of loss of confidence means. Anything. And once you don't have an explanation, what the Prime Minister has done is put a shadow over my life. And that is why I'm saying he's bad for this thing. He's the wrong fit. That is their phrase for national security and to run any country. If you are able to instruct a creature of the Constitution, right, to trample on the rights of a citizen, how could you fit for this office? So I will leave that here. Anytime we're ready again, we'll talk. I have a bunch of things to talk about.
Okay. So thank you so much for coming on. I just want to let the public know, for those of you who don't know, the Honorable Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell, is the Minister of National Security. He's the one in charge. He's a line minister for the RGPF. And so that's why he is saying he has lost confidence in Superintendent Tafawa Pierre. Have you met? You all met before, like in job-wise? Have you had any sort of encounter?
Yeah, we met before. I have him as a friend. We never had any problem. We met before. Even after the elections, when he visited the senior police, we took a photograph together. I mean, a new prime minister and all. I know issue. I'm not sure what that is about. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I'm cool with the honorable prime minister.
Well, knowing you, you cool with everyone. Tav, thank you so much for coming in and explaining. Of course, I would be calling on you again once other things progress. You would come back to keep us up to date on where you are and what's going on.
True, I have a lot of free time now, so call me anytime. I'm unemployed. Yeah. Thank you, Miss Simon.
All the best in your endeavors.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.
Of course, we ran out of time already. I had a very interesting piece to bring to you. Our the NDC PRO Ron Redhead on his utterances on the monies they met when they came into office. But I ain't gonna rush it because we have to take our time and deal with Mr. F. Right? So that's a wrap on today's episode of Simon Says. It's always a pleasure conversing with you, trying to keep them honest. Thank you for viewing yet another episode of Simon Says, where facts come first. I'm your host, Jenny Simon. See you next week, same time, same place. Have a great week. Bye now.
Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode.